Hey folks, I am so excited for this week's show. It is fight week for UFC 261. Fans back in the arena, ViStar Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida, this Saturday on pay-per-view. We are definitely going to do a deep dive on this pay-per-view with 3 title fights on the card, headlined by part 2 of Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Remember, Jorge Masvidal is getting a full camp. He is not a late notice replacement like he was for their first encounter. And we'll do a deep dive to see if Masvidal can alter the results from the first fight. We also had, our the UFC Fight Night between Robert Whittaker and Kelvin Gastelum. We previewed that last week. I'm going to talk about things that I saw from there. And, another announcement. Since I am such a huge Aggie fan, we have this weekend Texas A&M spring football game. I'm going to be watching that. Hopefully it'll be over by the time I know it'll be over by the time the pay-per-view starts. If not, I'm going to be flipping back and forth between the two. So next week, we're going to have the post-show from that, from the UFC 261. And then I'm also going to do my second Texas A&M football show. And, should be a fun week. Logging a ton of time behind the microphone. Guess what? I'm getting a little bit better. At least I feel that way. So let's jump into it. It's fun. It's really fun. So, fight night. Like I said, we had Whittaker versus Gastelum. And before I touch on the main event, let me just say, on Friday, if you didn't watch the show, the intro to the show, the announcers on there, John Anik, Michael Bisping, and Dominic Cruz all stated, let us know that the co-main event between Drakkar Klose and Jeremy Stephens. Who the fuck is that guy? Yeah. Jeremy Stephens. That fight was called off. Unfortunately, Drakkar Klose pulled out. The reason why is because at the ceremonial, it wasn't a ceremony. After they weighed in, they did the ceremonial face-offs, which I'm a huge fan of, by the way. Huge fan of the face-offs. The last time the fighters see each other before the fight, it helps us fans get excited for that last encounter where we can size up the two opponents. See them face to face, see how they react. Jeremy Stephens, in the heat of the moment, shoved Drakkar Klose, and afterwards, Drakkar Klose, I guess in the middle of the night or in the morning, I'm not quite clear on that. But he started experiencing symptoms of whiplash and concussion symptoms. So they called it off. The UFC did come out and state that they're trying to rebook that fight as soon as possible. So hopefully Drakkar Klose can get well. This was a great co-main event. A great test for Drakkar Klose. A great test for Jeremy Stephens, who's moving up to 155 after, I believe, several years away from that division. He had been fighting at featherweight. So, I can pull up the shove. I'm pretty sure I have that one pulled up here. Let's take a look at it. And you guys make your own call on this. I mean, it's not the first time that we've seen a fighter shove another fighter during weigh-ins. It was a hard shove. And he caught him just right, pushed him back several feet. Whiplash from it, sure, absolutely. I mean, I buy the story. I Drakkar Klose is a well-respected veteran at this point. So I definitely don't think that he would be afraid of somebody like Jeremy Stephens. And Jeremy Stephens is an imposing figure, even though some people that have fought 145 and 155 don't know who he is, apparently. But yeah, and it's just sad that Drakkar Klose had to experience symptoms like this after that shove. Does this mean that it's just playing on a loop now, I'm sorry. Does that mean that these types of things, either the ceremonial weigh-in that you see at pay-per-views or the ceremonial face-offs that you're seeing for the fight nights, do they need to go away? I don't think so. I don't think so. For fans, for media, it's just a great photo op, and it's been done for so long. In boxing, it's done. In MMA, it's been done. I mean, it's just a great the pre-fight press conference. They face them off there midweek in normal circumstances, not COVID circumstances. So when we've had, pre-fight press conferences, midweek, I think it normally happens on the Wednesday. Weigh-ins happens on Friday. So we're getting to see these guys face off. I mean, I think this is just a freak accident. I don't think Jeremy Stephens was trying to injure Drakkar Klose ahead of their fight, to do something to him that makes this fight not go on. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous notion. Probably being pushed by Disney Sports. All right. Jeremy Stephens probably put in an 8-week camp for this, as well as Drakkar Klose. You don't put in that type of work away from your family, away from your kids, away from eating a freaking hamburger or pizza. Put your body through that for 8 weeks and go through hell just to have it taken away from you in the heat of a moment. No, this was a freak accident. It doesn't happen that often. The overreaction has absolutely taken away these ceremonial face-offs. That's a complete overreaction. And I haven't seen anything that says that the UFC is trying to take that away. I think from all the chatter online from UFC representatives, what they've put out, this is just something that happened in the heat of the moment, and it was an accident. Okay? So, fight will get rebooked, and hopefully we'll see it here, maybe in a week or two. Hopefully it doesn't take long for this fight to get rebooked. Main event. Main event was everything that we thought it would be. Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum. When they first fought, or when they were supposed to fight the first time at UFC 234, there was a lot of hype and excitement around this. Kelvin Gastelum is a hard guy to put away. Hard guy to put away. The current champion, Irsi Adesanya, couldn't do it. He looked like a Steven Spielberg cartoon, after he got done with his fight against Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum hits hard, and he's got an iron chin. He is a hard man to put away. Robert Whittaker knew that going into this fight and executed the perfect game plan. Dominate. just a sheer domination. Punches and volumes, connect, be smart, and avoid taking damage. Robert Whittaker, he wore that 5-round fight on his face after that fight. He went to war. And Kelvin Gastelum, I think the scorecards, I think it was 50-45 across the board. It was sheer dominance by Robert Whittaker. But if you watch that fight, it was a lot closer than 5-0. Did Robert Whittaker win every round? I think so. I'm not going to argue with the judging on that one. I wasn't mad at that score. But Kelvin Gastelum gave it one hell of a fight. And that's what he does. A huge respect to Kelvin Gastelum because he is a beast. So that was an awesome fight. Both of them, it ended up being fight of the night. They both walk away with $50,000 from the UFC as performance bonuses for fight of the night. And I was impressed. I think Robert Whittaker winning this fight solidifies himself as still the number one contender. I would have said prior to this fight, Marvin Vettori the week before made a strong case to be the next one to face Izzy. And after watching Robert Whittaker's performance, I think I talked about this last week. Like, who is the front runner? I think with Robert Whittaker's performance, he absolutely is next in line. Marvin Vettori was there cage side. He saw it too. He tried to play a little politics in the interviews, trying to say that Robert Whittaker doesn't want it, and doesn't want the title shot. I think that is sheer utter stupidity. Marvin Vettori, sorry, but I mean, you're politicking, man. I get it. You're politicking for your case for the title shot, and you're gonna throw whatever stone you can, because I don't think Marvin Vettori wants another fight, and wait around for the next title shot. But I think Israel Adesanya is an active fighter. He's not going to be one of these champions that you see. And coincidentally, this was kind of Robert Whittaker, where you only saw Robert Whittaker defend his title once a year. Could be wrong. It could have been a couple times, twice a year. But, I mean, he's not the frequent fighter that Israel Adesanya is. So, Robert Whittaker, after the fight, called for his title shot, rightfully so, or at least it sounds justified in Robert Whittaker's eyes, and called for September for a sold-out stadium in Australia. Australia has very strict COVID rules right now, so the chances of that happening, I don't know. We'll have to find out. I think Robert Whittaker said September. So maybe there could be a little bit of change in between now and then, but I kind of feel like they would have to book this fight between him and Izzy, by the end of June, by the middle to end of June, which, is within 2 months. Within 2 months, the next 2 months, they'd have to have this fight booked to give these guys a full camp and do it right. And that's hard. Does Izzy want to wait around till September to defend his title? Is he ready to go? I don't know. Izzy might want to get back in sooner than that, and Robert Whittaker might not be ready. You absolutely could see a Marvin Vettori Israel Adesanya title fight before Robert Whittaker. It's absolutely possible. And is it the right thing to do? Well, Izzy's the champ. He can make that determination if he wants to. If he says, I want to fight, and I want to fight in June or July or August, I'm not going to wait around on a contender that I already beat on his terms. He might not want that. So in that instance, I could see Marvin Vettori getting this title shot beforehand. But if that title fight does go down in September, the quickest that you would probably see Marvin Vettori get his shot, whether it be against the winner of Robert Whittaker versus Israel Adesanya, is probably, you're looking at January. In all reality, I think December would be too quick of a turnaround, but it might fit just right. December, January, sure. Okay, we'll say December, January. Marvin Vettori might not want to wait that long until that title fight. He could absolutely be a standby fighter. This whole having a standby for main events has kind of become a little bit of commonplace in these pay-per-views with COVID protocols and stuff. And that's commendable. We don't want to see fights fall out like that, and hate to see it. And it's happened more in COVID than normal, but fights fall out. It happens. So Marvin Vettori could absolutely be the stand-in, and if he doesn't have it, then taking another fight, but against who? I think against Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa was supposed to fight Robert Whittaker this weekend. Had to pull out. How long is he going to be out? I don't know. If Marvin Vettori doesn't get the immediate title fight and he still wants to fight, Paulo Costa is the fight to make. Easy enough. Enough said. It keeps Vettori at the top. And it's a winnable fight for Vettori. It's a winnable fight both ways. So, yeah, great. It really was a great fight night, great main event. I'm hesitant to say I was kind of disappointed in some of the earlier fights to the fight night. But there were a couple of fights that I was absolutely impressed with. That, let me pull it up here because the Andre Arlovsky Chase Sherman fight was a fantastic fight. Very close fight. Andre Arlovsky pulled it out. Tracy Cortez versus Justine Kish. Tracy Cortez missed weight by a half a pound and was fined 20% of her purse. Defeated Justine Kish and looked amazing. Tracy Cortez is a younger fighter, very, very hungry. I hate the weight miss for her. I feel like they always say half a pound does make a difference. And so that weight miss, such a great performance against Justine Kish is kind of shaded a little bit by the weight miss. But I think she is an exciting fighter. I hope that she gets the weight issue under control. And we're talking about half a pound. And I know I think it's taboo to talk about women's weight, so I'm not going to spend too much time. But Tracy Cortez, I love you. You're awesome. Luis Pena versus Alexander Munoz. That was to me, I was calling that my fight of the night before we saw the Robert Whittaker Kelvin Gastelum fight. Luis Violent Bob Ross Pena, he did get the split decision victory. It could have gone either way, but it was just a great performance all around from both fighters. Jessica Penne, this was the women's strawweight. It was on the prelim card on ESPN Plus. Jessica Penne coming back from four-year layoff versus newcomer Lupe Godinez, and that was a split decision for Jessica Penne. I did not see Jessica Penne winning this fight. I think Lupita or Lupe, I think she did more damage. She did get her back taken several times throughout the fight, and Jessica Penne rode Lupe for a good long bit up against the cage, which counts as being control on somebody's back. Could never get the submission, wasn't inflicting any damage. Any damage that was being inflicted was Lupe doing that to Penne. But a split decision victory. Two judges had it 29-28 for Penne, and the other judge had it 29-28 for Lupe. I would have put it at 29-28 for Lupe, and it would have been 30-27 had Jessica Penne had not been that one round on Lupe's back up against the fence in a dominant position. So that one was a hard one for me. I think the judges got it wrong on that one. But other than that, it was very say we had a 10 fight card, and it felt like it went on forever, but we did have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of the 10 fights go to a decision. So yeah, performance of the nights went to Tony Gravely, who knocked out Anthony Burchek in the second round, which was the very first fight of the night. And then Gerald Mearshart also got performance of the night for his fight, also on the prelim. Technical submission of Bartosz Fabinski. Yeah. That wasn't the only action that we had on Saturday night. We also had Jake Paul, YouTube star, YouTube phenom, if you want to call him that, versus a familiar face in the MMA community. Let me pull it up here. With Ben Askren. Now, Ben Askren is a skilled mixed martial artist. Sorry, my phone went off. How unprofessional. I know. Sorry. Ben Askren had a long MMA career, but is mainly known as a grappler, as a wrestler to be specific. Wrestling pedigree and jumping into a boxing ring. Now, he did have MMA training with hands. And I think there was a lot of misconceptions that Ben Askren being a professional fighter, had a huge advantage against Jake Paul. And I'm going to stop you right there. Because if you thought that way, there ain't no other way to put it, but like, you were wrong, okay? So, Ben Askren fought his entire career at 155 pounds. Or, I'm sorry, 170 pounds. 170 pounds. Not 155, 170. Welterweight division in the UFC. He retired. Of course, after taking the record the record-breaking knockout loss against our main event this weekend, UFC 261, and Jorge Masvidal took that flying knee. The shot heard around the world, right? After that, he fought Damian Maia, submission specialist. Probably one of the most dangerous submission specialists that's ever graced the octagon. He lost there as well. Subsequently, he retired. Went to work on his family, run his wrestling school, and do his thing. He had a great career. He was Bellator champion. He was ONE FC champion. I mean, he's been all over the map. Well respected. Ton of respect for this guy. But he had no business being in a boxing ring. No business. And my suspicions were confirmed whenever they weighed in. The photos of Ben Askren at the weigh-in. This, right here. I saw this picture and I said, ooh, he's going to get fucked up. Ben Askren is going to get lit up by somebody younger. I don't know if he's more talented at boxing or not. Ben Askren already has had a dad bod. He wasn't rocking, six packs and huge guns in the UFC or his entire career. His nickname is Funky. His style is funky. He's not built in the traditional sense. He wasn't built the traditional sense for wrestling, much less MMA. But he always found a way. But when we saw him in the UFC, he looked a hell of a lot better on the scales than he did right there. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my body on the scale right now. That's what I look like. Am I trying to fight Jake Paul? Hell fucking no. I mean, I would for the right amount of money. And that's probably why Ben Askren did it. But my point is that this was just an illusion. This was just a show. It was just another thing to put on the Jake Paul hype train. Jake Paul isn't fighting anybody legit. Jake Paul's going to get destroyed. Oh yeah, I'm going to fight an MMA fighter. Okay, but I'll fight an MMA fighter that's not a specialist with their hands. Okay, sure. And you're going to call that a real legitimate fight? No, of course not. And let's not forget, Triller's pay-per-view model is the most annoying thing I've ever seen. I was interested to see Frank Mir's fight versus Stephen Cunningham. you had so much dancing and concerts, and it was a circus of whatever. I'm tuning into sports, and I'm tuning into to UFC fight nights. If watching boxing matches, I'm watching boxing because I want to see boxing. I want to see the fight itself. And I was curious. I had enough curiosity. This Ben Askren thing, it piqued enough curiosity that I was intrigued enough to watch it. But after seeing Ben Askren on the scale, I knew right then, this is going to end bad. It ain't going to be pretty. And then this unnecessary hype train of Jake Paul is just going to rocket, even further. He's going to have to face somebody legit. That's the only logical step. He has to fight somebody. If it is somebody in the MMA community, again, it has to be somebody with hands. I know they mentioned Tyron Woodley. Again, somebody smaller fights at 170. You need somebody that fought in the middleweight division. I think Jake Paul said something about Daniel Cormier. I saw Daniel Cormier on his podcast this morning saying, I'm the double champ. Like, you're not going to call me out. Like, if I want to fight you, I will. But you don't call me out on your terms. I'm a Hall of Famer. And he's absolutely right. But Cormier spoke on the Tyron Woodley thing. Tyron Woodley would have stood a better chance against Jake Paul. And then he also mentioned his friend, what's his name? Damn. Fought Chris Weidman. Oh, damn, I can't remember the name. Luke Rockhold. That's right. Luke Rockhold. Sorry. So, mention Luke Rockhold. Sure. I mean, I would see that fight. You know somebody else that fought at middleweight? That would be a good one. Yoel Romero. I know he's fighting at light heavyweight in the tournament for Bellator. Yeah. Come on, Yoel. Cut down to 190 and face Jake Paul. I love you. There I go with bad impersonations again. Yoel Romero. I love it. I make that fight. What are we going to see Jake Paul do next? You know what? I'm sick and tired. I'm tired of talking about Jake Paul. It doesn't deserve any. It's just not worth your time. All the flash and pizzazz and Justin Bieber's and Snoop Dogg's for this YouTuber. I mean, it's just, you're not going to see what you want to see. If you're a fan of combat sports, you're not going to see what you want to see. You're going to see an undersized basketball player get knocked out. You're going to see a retired dad bod MMA fighter that doesn't specialize in striking get knocked the hell out. This is what you get. That's exactly what you get. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I can't waste my time on it anymore. Talk to me. You want me to talk about Jake Paul? Let's talk about Jake Paul when he fights somebody real. Somebody with a real striking background, boxing history. If not boxing history, at least an MMA fighter with a striking background. Let's see it. Let's see Jake Paul truly test himself. Does he have some basics? Yes, he knows boxing moves. He's got boxing footwork. He's got boxing hands. But to see him box people that don't have boxing in their repertoire, like, I'm sorry. I'm going to change the channel. I'm not going to watch anything Jake Paul related until Jake Paul does something relevant. Moving on. UFC 261. Let's take a look at the poster. Of course, we've got 3 title fights on the card. Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Part 2 is the main event. Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas. Second title fight. And the third title fight is Shevchenko versus the former flyweight champion, Jessica Andrade. It's hard to pick a favorite of what fight on this card I'm looking forward to the most. I do want to pull up because the main card is just stacked. The main card is absolutely stacked. Let's go down. So to kick off the pay-per-view, you have Anthony Lionheart Smith, former title challenger, versus Jimmy Crute. This is going to be a great fight. Anthony Smith is in dire need of a rebound. Jimmy Crute is barreling into the top 15 with a ton of hype behind him. This is a good test for both of these fighters. Is Anthony Smith still worthy of contending for a title? Is Jimmy Crute a future title challenger? Like, this decides it right here. A ton of hype for this one. I love this fight kicking off a pay-per-view. Next up, you've got Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman coming back down to middleweight. I think he did one fight at light heavyweight. But coming back down to middleweight, facing Uriah Hall. Former champion versus former Ultimate Fighter knockout champ Uriah Hall. Had one of the sickest knockouts in Ultimate Fighter history. And I think we talked about it. Those ones that just completely shook the world. But that's 2 big recognizable names right there in that middleweight fight. And then you get into the title fights. First title fight up looks like Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade for the women's flyweight title. Jessica Andrade poses an interesting threat to Shevchenko. Valentina has great counter striking, and Jessica Andrade she's a bull. She moves forward and closes distance probably better than any of the females in the UFC. Doesn't matter what weight division. All 4 weight divisions, I would say Jessica Andrade is probably number 1 up there at closing distance. She likes to take a fight and get nasty with it. She likes the ugly fights, and that ugly type fight is what won her the title at strawweight against Rose Namajunas. Valentina Shevchenko has just been dominant ever since her losses to the current bantam and featherweight champ Amanda Nunes, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Valentina is not far behind in the GOAT competition, conversation. I say competition, conversation. Valentina has been unstoppable since they created the flyweight division. There's been Valentina and everybody else. Much like at bantamweight and featherweight, there has been Amanda Nunes and everybody else. After Valentina, after this fight, if Valentina wins, I know Valentina's down 2 fights, but the third fight for Valentina and Amanda Nunes is the only fight to me that makes sense for both of them. There's nobody left for Amanda Nunes. There's nobody left really for Valentina Shevchenko. I just don't see anything that comes remotely close in our near future that gives us a clear picture for either champion right now who faces them next. I am intrigued by this title fight with Valentina and Jessica Andrade. I am intrigued because Jessica is such a savage. She has takedowns. She closes distance. She doesn't mind fighting in a phone booth. She comes in and barrels in. So, good fight. Good. Really excited here. Next fight, we have the women's strawweight title. Rose Namajunas is coming back to challenge for the title that she lost against Andrade, and subsequently Andrade lost to Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili is nasty. This girl is amazing, dominant fighter. Her first fights in the UFC, her performance is there. I was telling everybody, watch out for this Chinese girl because she is going to be a champion at some point. I didn't think it would happen as soon as it did. It actually happened while I was in Vegas. I couldn't go to the fight. Our flight landed while the main event was going on. Wish I could have been there. I 100% would have been there because I think that highly of Zhang Weili. She is an amazing fighter. And Rose Namajunas has had an amazing career as well, was a wonderful champion. She solved the unsolvable with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I love Rose. Rose is a wonderful human being in and out of the cage. She's just not what you expect on a personal level from a world champion fighter. Her and her husband Pat Barry are they garden at their house. They're gardeners in their free time. That's a hobby. Like, how cool is that? Gardening's not cool, but I get the sentiment behind it. It's a peace. It's an inner peace to go to when you're not concentrating on violence, and that's that's an amazing activity to share with a spouse. It's an amazing activity just to separate yourself from the mindset of being a fighter. So really cool. So that is the second title fight, I guess what you would call the co-main event slot. But I think when you have multiple title fights, they're all 5-round fights. They're all main events. So I'm not going to call anything a co-main event. In this instance, it would just be in that co-main event slot where it's, the next fight before the title fight or the main event. Title fight. Main event. And then the final championship fight, again, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal, like I said before, is filling in their first fight, was filling in short notice to face Kamaru Usman. Didn't get a full camp. Sure. I mean, I believe that as a valid excuse. It's a title fight. It's complex. There's 5 rounds to it. If you're not building, in your 8 to 12 week training camp to withstand going 5 hard rounds, you're going to gash yourself out in 2. So did we get to see the real Jorge Masvidal in that fight? No, probably not. Do I think that it will change the result and Jorge be the champion? Maybe, maybe not. He certainly stands a better chance with a full camp. That's for sure. But is he the one to take down Kamaru Usman? I don't know. So, without further ado, let's go through the main card picks. Anthony Lionheart Smith versus Jimmy Crute. I think I'm going to roll with Lionheart on this one. I think it'll be a decision, but I think Anthony's veteran savvy and knows what it takes to get up to a title shot will just edge out Jimmy Crute, probably in a split decision. But I do say that Anthony Smith, I don't think he's lost too much. He's had a couple of fights since his title fight that didn't go his way. I think this is the turning point. I don't think Anthony Smith is done. I don't think he's hit that downward spiral of his career. I think he's still there, and I think this is where he turns it around and really puts on a performance. Next up, Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. The key to this fight for Weidman is avoiding the big shot from Hall. Weidman should absolutely take out the legs of Uriah Hall. Render those dangerous legs. Render at least one of them. Give him problems. And then take him down and smother him. I think Chris Weidman gets the victory here. First title fight of the night. Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade. Yes, like I said, Andrade poses something that we haven't seen Valentina really have to adjust to outside of the Amanda Nunes fights. Jessica Andrade will make it very interesting, but ultimately Valentina stays champion, and I think that we do get the trilogy fight between Valentina and Amanda Nunes. Zhang Weili versus Rose Namajunas. I hate picking a fight between two fighters that I really, really like. Rose is coming in with a ton of passion, with all of the interviews, just a ton of focus and a ton of passion to go get her title fight. But I don't think it'll be enough. I think Zhang Weili is a force to be reckoned with, and this is a fight that is going to put a stamp on her reign as strawweight champion. And that puts us to the main event, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Again, I think Masvidal does make it more interesting with this fight and having a full camp for the champion Kamaru Usman. But unfortunately, I don't think it'll be enough. I think Kamaru Usman comes out with a victory, and I think this is the first time ever for a 3-card fight card that I've ever publicly made a prediction where I thought all 3 champions would keep their belt. And I could be wrong. Predictions are just predictions. These are just my opinions here, and anything can happen in a fight. We could absolutely see three champions lose their belts in this one. It's possible. These are just my picks. If I'm wrong, I'll admit it. So yeah, that's it. Absolutely tune in. Really excited to see cheering fans, see the, just be able to feel the energy from having fans in the arena and see it come out in fighter performances. I am sad to see, to not be able to hear everything. Coaches yelling, the hits hit harder, the kicks are louder, everything. Just, I became a huge fan of no fans in the arena. Not a fan of COVID. Not a fan of the situation that's making them go to no fans. But excited to see this normalcy come back into play. And yeah, so this Saturday, April 24th, 9 p.m. Central is when the pay-per-view starts. ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, Jacksonville, Florida, at capacity, UFC 261. Stay tuned. We'll go over, we'll discuss the fallout from UFC 261. Also talk about the next UFC Fight Night, and then be on the lookout for my post game for the maroon and white game for Texas A&M. Gig 'em. We'll see you next time, folks.